Hello, I'm Rie Minamoto from the APO Secretariat. Today, we are broadcasting the Productivity Talk live from Tokyo, Japan. The topic is Nature-Positive Forest Value Chains for Sustainable Productivity. According to the report of World Wildlife Fund, so-called WWF, biodiversity sustains human life and underpins our societies. However, over the past 50 years, the average size of monitored wildlife populations has shrunk by 73%. Nature positive refers to the global societal goal to halt and reverse nature loss by 2030 on the 2020 baseline and achieve full recovery by 2050. Today, among the ecosystem, we will focus on forest management and discuss the keys to achieving nature-positive forest commodity value chains for sustainable development. As a guest speaker, we will have Ms. Makiko Soma, the lead of Forest Group of WWF Japan. In her presentation, she will also share implications for long-term productivity. Now, let me welcome Makiko. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you?
Welcome to our productivity talk. Nice to have you for this important topic.
Yes. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah.
Yes, thank you too. Okay. Let me briefly introduce you to our viewers. Before joining WWF Japan, Makiko has been involved in numerous projects in agriculture and forestry in Southeast Asia and Africa as a consultant. She focused particularly on upland agriculture, organic farming, and traditional agricultural practices in mountainous regions. In 2018, she joined WWF Japan and is currently responsible for designing and managing forest conservation projects in production landscapes across Asia and Africa. She also collaborates closely with Japanese companies that source these commodities, promoting responsible procurement and sustainable practices. Since this is a live, we will have a live Q&A session after presentation. Engagement of viewer is crucial. Feel free to ask questions and let's make this session as interactive and beneficial as possible. Please post questions in the YouTube live chat section. We will take as many questions as time allows. Okay, now Makiko, you can start your presentation.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Rie, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, I'd like to talk about nature-positive value chains for sustainable productivity. Some of you may already be familiar with the term nature-positive, while for others, it might still be a new concept. But I believe many of you have at least come across it in recent discussions around sustainability or biodiversity. So let's begin by exploring what nature positive really means and why it's becoming a key principle in shaping the future of productivity. So before that, let me start by briefly introducing WWF and WWF Japan. WWF is a global environmental conservation organization founded in Switzerland in 1961. Today, we operate over 100 countries worldwide. Our mission is simple yet powerful. We are going to build a future in which people live in harmony with nature. And in Japan, we are doing these 4 things. We are focusing on 4 key areas. First, stopping global warming. Second, building sustainable value chains, which will be related to today's topic of mine. And third, conserving our seas and forests. And finally, protecting wildlife. WWF Japan have set two major goals for the future. First, by 2030, realizing nature positive. As you can see in the graph, biodiversity has been declining for a long time. Our goal is to bend the curve. The curve is declining, but to bend it to upward to stop the loss and begin recovery. This reversal, just Ria has mentioned, is what we call nature positive. Our second goal is to realize a decarbonized society. We strive to achieve net zero carbon emissions worldwide. These are two goals of WWF Japan. You may wonder why nature positive and decarbonization are two goals. I think about decarbonization, I believe many of you would agree that we are undergoing and feeling climate change. About biodiversity or nature, but by the way, I should note that in today's presentation, I use the terms biodiversity and nature somewhat interchangeably. They mean almost the same thing, while they can have distinct meanings in certain contexts. Both refer to living systems and ecosystems that support life, productivity, and resilience. So please remember, I use biodiversity and nature interchangeably. Anyway, sorry, going back to biodiversity. So according to our report, WWF's Living Planet Report 2024, biodiversity has been declining at an alarming rate. Since 1970, global wildlife population have dropped by 73%. So 27% remaining. So among that, freshwater species declined by 85%, terrestrial land species by 69%, ocean species by 56%, etc. Now, please look at the map. Do you have any idea what the numbers mean? The numbers in different colors, different regions, indicate the loss of nature and regional differences. Please look at Southeast Asia, colored pink. It has gone through 60% of nature in the past 50 years. Not so sure if these numbers make sense to you. Is it more or is it less than your expectation? Here is an example of showing the loss of nature. Do you have an idea how many tigers are there in the wild? Not those in zoos, but the wild. The hint is over 100,000 individuals of tiger at the beginning of 20th century. How many now? The answer is it is estimated around 3,000 to 4,000 individuals in the wild. So again, is it more tigers or less tigers than your expectation? Here, I'd like to introduce in this slide how the world leaders in business and politics look at the environmental issues. At the Davos Summit, not sure if you know about Davos Summit, that's a conference convened by World Economic Forum in Switzerland every year. Global leaders and also global business leaders and political leaders gather and talk about world risks and world opportunities. According to this year's summit, environmental risks top the list. Please look at the table. Those in green are environmental risks, and the red columns indicate social risks, and the purple one, technological risks. You can see top 4 out of 10 global risks are extreme weather, biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, earth system changes, and natural resource shortages. This shows how world leaders recognize environmental issues as a risk for the world today. I guess a lot of the audience here, viewers here today, are familiar with SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. This is the illustration here. This is so-called SDGs wedding cake created by Stockholm Resilience Center to illustrate how the SDGs are interconnected. The bottom layer of the cake is called biosphere. It is a foundation because a healthy planet is essential for everything else. We have a healthy planet, healthy biosphere, and based on that, we have a healthy society and healthy economy. And over half of our GDP, about 44 trillion US dollars, is said to depend on nature. How about in Asia Pacific? In Asia Pacific region alone, 19 trillion dollars is at risk due to nature loss. So protecting nature is not economic issue and imperative. And I'd like to introduce two reports. And land, terrestrial land, holds ecosystems, including forests. Here are two reports. And unfortunately, land has been degraded over the world. Land degradation has already reduced 23% of productivity across the globe of global terrestrial or land area. 23% productivity lost due to land degradation. And APO also has a report. And in APO's report, it says, it insists that natural resources are being damaged and climate change is getting worse. This would be a serious challenge in making improvement of productivity. That is why APO says it is so important to boost agriculture productivity using sustainable method. We need a sustainable method now more than ever. Okay, so I'd like to elaborate a little bit more on relationship between nature and productivity. So when nature is degraded, it becomes harder to access the resources, like resources we rely on, like clean water, fertile soil, stable climates. This creates uncertainty and risk, not just for farmers, but also for businesses and investors too. This concept is, I believe this concept is not difficult for us, for many of us in Asia. In many parts of Asia, actually, there are deep-rooted values and worldviews that see humans not as separate from nature, but humans as part of it. I say this because I recall my time with indigenous communities and local communities in central Luzon, where I saw their traditional farming practices. So their ancestors have lived and farmed in harmony with nature for hundreds, sometimes over thousands of years. So their practices are organic, their practices are regenerative and have been sustained and sustainable for a long, long time. So there is so much we can learn from their way of life now. Please look at the logo here. It's a logo from COP10 held in Aichi Prefecture, Japan, back in 2010. It reminds of this, Asian values about nature. Its theme was life in harmony into the future. And if you look at this logo closely, you see humans surrounded by wildlife and natural element. It's a visual reminder that we live within nature, not outside of it. So we are sustained by nature and we are shaped by nature and we are part of nature. Okay. So this diagram shows the actions we need to reverse nature loss. Unfortunately, nature is degrading and we are losing nature, but how to reverse it? It includes 5 key areas: reducing consumption, promoting sustainable production, addressing other drivers, and restoring nature. As you can see, if you want to bend the curve towards nature positive, each part plays a critical role. Nothing can be left out. All of these key actions are needed. But I'd like to specifically emphasize about the sustainable production. And I also like to insist that if you are or have been already practicing organic farming, traditional agroforestry, or natural farming, or if you're advocating for these approaches or running a business connected to them, then the rise of this nature positive era, like right now, is truly working in your favor. So it's your work, your philosophy, and your commitment to harmony with nature is no longer seen as niche. It's becoming a central, mainstream to how we think about sustainable future productivity. Okay. So here is why I say that sustainable production is especially important. It was agreed by 196 countries to halt, stop, and reverse biodiversity loss by 2030 at the Convention on Biological Diversity in December 2022, held in Kunming and Montreal. The agreed framework has 23 sub-goals, and here is a list of 4 sub-goals. Goal 8 says minimizing impact. Goal 10 says sustainable agriculture and forestry and fishery. Goal 15 says reduce business negative impacts on nature. And goal 16 say enable sustainable consumption choices. Okay. So this diagram shows how our journey towards a nature positive future can follow the path already laid out for climate action. Let's take a look at this diagram. It shows how our journey towards a nature positive. At the bottom, here is a path for biodiversity. At the top, you see the climate milestones from 2015 Paris Agreement to the goal of net zero emission by 2050. And actually in 2024, last year, we hit a record high temperature exceeding 1.5 degree above pre-industrial level. That's a wake-up call. Below, the green section outlines biodiversity goals from 2022 Kunming Montreal framework to full recovery by 2050. And by 2030, we aim to stop, halt, and reverse biodiversity loss. And we must act fast. Okay, so I was talking about the international trends and some policy framework. So building on that roadmap, now let's turn our attention to one of the most critical ecosystems, forest. Why forest? Because forests play crucial role for both nature and climate. Forests hold 80% of land, 15 billion tons of carbon CO2 annually, and the forests support the livelihood of 1.6 billion people, especially indigenous peoples and local communities. And the forests help prevent disasters and conserve water resources. So it's very essential for resilience. And yet, we have lost 63 million hectares of forest, or nearly 6.4 million hectares of forest, only in a year of 2023. And here is a striking fact. Every 2.2 seconds, we lose a forest area the size of a football field. So this means that we are losing biodiversity, carbon sinks, and livelihood. So deforestation is a serious global issue, but it's not evenly distributed. It's not everywhere. In fact, it's highly concentrated in certain regions where in tropics. You can see the map. It's developed by WWF, shows the deforestation fronts. It's colored red. The red colored parts are called deforestation fronts. It's a regions where forest loss is more severe and ongoing. The green area, by the way, is a forest as of 2004, and the red areas are deforestation has been advancing rapidly. You can see it's distributed Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Southeast Asia. That's where we are losing forest. Please look at this map. In Southeast Asia, deforestation is driven by multiple factors. Key regions such as Mekong, Sumatra, Borneo, New Guinea face intensive pressure from agriculture, logging, infrastructure development, mining, fires. These drivers vary by location, but together they contribute significantly to forest loss across the region. But the biggest driver of deforestation is said to be agriculture, especially the 7 forest risk commodities. I put the illustration there: cattle, soy, oil palm, wood and pulp and paper, natural rubber, and cocoa or cacao. I'd like to show you some pictures what's happening. Here is large-scale deforestation. It wipes out natural forest. And after that, only one time they can harvest the natural wood. It took maybe 50, 60 years to grow this natural. Why only one time? Because the forests converted into pulp and paper plantations like this, or the once forest land is converted into oil palm plantations like this. That is why natural wood is harvested only once, and then after that it's converted into agricultural land. So now we know what's driving deforestation from cattle, oil palm, wood pulp, paper. But what does this actually mean on the ground? This slide shows real-world consequences of deforestation. The left, we see the loss of wildlife habitat or wildlife, pushing many species to the brink of extinction. The center, deforestation can also lead to conflicts and violence, especially the local community or indigenous people are forcibly displaced. And on the right, in places like Southeast Asia, some fires or peatland fires, often linked to land clearing, release massive amounts of greenhouse gases and cause severe air pollution. It is also harmful to human health. That's the consequence of deforestation. Now let's look at international initiatives to address these problems to realize nature-positive forest value chains. For that, we need a really strong policy, and Europe is going a little bit ahead. Deforestation. Europe is ahead on deforestation-free supply chain. This slide introduces one of the most significant and ambitious law. It's called EU Deforestation Regulation, or it's called EUDR. So it covers 7 key forest risk commodities: soy, palm oil, beef, coffee, cocoa, rubber, and wood. So under this regulation, companies must prove that their products are not linked to deforestation or forest degradation after December 31, 2020. And they have to make sure that products are produced legally in the country of origin. So this is a major shift. It sends a strong signal to global supply chain. Deforestation is no longer acceptable as a cost of doing business. That's a signal sent by EU. And it opens the door for producers, businesses, and government to align with nature and also positive practices, not just for compliance, but for long-term resilience and market access. Here, a lot of alphabet soup. I'd like to explain just briefly. So while Europe is leading on regulatory actions like EUDR, financial institutions, banks, and financial institutions are also stepping up, demanding greater transparency and accountability for companies. This slide shows some frameworks. For example, from the left, Task Force on Nature-related Financial Disclosure. So basically, financial institutions are asking companies to disclose their business impact and on nature. And so CDP is a carbon disclosure project. And also in the middle, the letters are small, but it says Science-Based Target Network. So it says set a science-based target for nature. So these frameworks are shaping the way businesses disclose their environmental impacts, including deforestation risks. I don't go into detail. Please check the website if you are interested in. So after understanding the problems and consequences and regulations and disclosure expectations from financial institutions around deforestation, you might be asking, so what can we actually do to take action? What are we going to do? What can we do? To answer that, one practical and impactful step is to adopt credible certification schemes. I'd like to introduce two most recognized certifications and standards. First is FSC, Forest Stewardship Council. You may be familiar, or you can find this logo on paper products and sometimes on wood products. Its certification ensures forest products are sourced in ways that are environmentally appropriate, socially beneficial, and economically viable. FSC was founded in 1994. The second certification is RSPO, the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil. You can find this logo on food products and personal care items. Certified producers and supply chain actors of RSPO must meet its environmental, social, and economic criteria. So these certifications help companies to avoid deforestation risks and meet regulatory and investor expectations. Okay, so while certification like FSC and RSPO help us avoid deforestation risks, achieving a truly nature-positive value chain while maintaining or even improving productivity requires going a little bit further. So we need to invest in sustainable and regenerative forestry and agriculture. That means moving away from fossil fuel dependent systems and towards practices that restore soil health, enhance biodiversity, and build long-term resilience. And this slide shows a great example of WWF and IKEA project in Vietnam. It covers over 3,000 small-scale foresters, small holders, and more than 24,000 hectares were certified under FSC with the help of this project. They planted 65,000 native trees, going beyond monoculture of acacia plantation to improve biodiversity and climate resilience. So by extending, also they extend the acacia harvest cycle. They used to harvest maybe five years cycle, but they extend it to 8 to up to 10 years. So they are not only extending harvesting cycle, not only reduce environmental impact, but also increase the income, as older acacia, fetches a much higher price for furniture. If the acacia is older, they can use it for furniture. While younger acacia trees used for paper, pulp and paper. and which is higher price, you can see. And also by delaying harvest of acacia just for 1 to 2 years, forests can absorb 23 or up to 44% more carbon. So this is a win-win situation for nature and people, and a powerful example of how regenerative and sustainable practices can support both environmental goals and economic productivity. And another example, this approach is not just limited to forestry. It's also being applied to agriculture and other land-based, agriculture and other products. And this slide highlights an example from Sumatra, Indonesia, where WWF Japan and Bridgestone, the tire maker, manufacturer, have been working together since 2017 to promote sustainable natural rubber production. And since last year, we have launched a joint project focused on smallholder rubber farming, combining WWF's conservation expertise with Bridgestone's production technologies. So the initiatives include training of rubber tree cultivation, latex tapping, and storage techniques. For improving productivity and quality, while ensuring deforestation-free production. So this is a model for how companies can invest in sustainable practices that support both nature and livelihood. Okay, so after everything we have explored, this is my final slide from the drivers and consequences of deforestation, policies, regenerative solutions. The question is no longer, why we need to act now, but how we act now. So I'd like to convey my messages to all the stakeholders expected in the APO region. So I'd like to call on private companies, especially if you are into or related to raw material sourcing, please invest in sustainable resource use and encourage clients, including Japanese companies, if they are your clients, encourage clients to support sustainable products and also prioritize deforestation-free products and production using certifications like FSC and RSPO. To the governments of APO regions, please support sustainable investments that protect natural capital, and please collaborate with consumer countries like Japan, because we import a lot of your raw materials. Please collaborate with our countries to advance nature-positive strategies such as regenerative agriculture, organic agriculture, sustainable sourcing, and deforestation-free value chains. And finally, to APO, please really lead these efforts to mobilize public and private investments in forest restoration, regenerative forestry, sustainable agriculture, etc. So this is our moment to align productivity with planetary health. And as we come to the end of, the presentation, I want to sincerely thank you for your time, attention, and engagement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your insightful presentation, Makiko. Again, let me encourage viewers to leave their questions for Makiko with their name and the country in the YouTube live chat section. We welcome your active participation. So, before taking questions from viewers, I'd like to ask you a few questions. My first question is about loss of nature in Asia and Pacific. In your presentation, you mentioned that 60% of nature in Asia Pacific has been lost for the last 50 years. It's an alarming number, I think. Then
Mm,
you mentioned that agriculture is one of the main causes, but could you explain the causes of the loss in more detail,
mm,
particularly in this region?
mm,
Do you think Asia Pacific needs more effort?
mm. Okay, thank you. The biggest driver of deforestation is said to be agriculture. I think that the trend, I mean, it's said to be agriculture globally, but I think the trend is similar in Asia. So large scale logging, agriculture plantations, pulp and paper plantations, etc. And if you want to develop a large scale agriculture, you need a road and infrastructure associated with agriculture plantation. So they combined, they should be main drivers in Asia, Southeast Asia, and the Asian region.
Okay, thank you. So the conservation of nature is of great importance. Then, however, it may be financially challenging for companies or organizations to do so while conducting their business operations, especially if they are small scale and have limited financial resources.
Hmm.
So, my second question is, could you please provide guidance for small scale companies or organizations on how to contribute to nature positive forest value chains?
Okay. Yes, great question. Supporting nature and sustainability doesn't always require large budgets. There are many things small and medium scale enterprises could do. For example, join local sustainability networks to first gather information, or partner with local NGOs. If there are WWF, maybe you can knock on the door. But if there is no, it doesn't have to be WWF. There is local NGO or maybe social enterprises near you. Maybe you can partner with them. Also, choose suppliers who use sustainable practices. That should be possible. And the SMEs have the strengths that large corporations do not have, like quick decision making, proximity, closeness to the field, and unique identity, like making use of local culture and natural resources. So I think there are a lot SMEs could do.
Okay, okay, thank you. Then my next question is about agriculture. So you mentioned sustainable agriculture in your presentation, and your family is doing the organic farming. Yeah. Then
Yes.
from your that experience, I would like to ask the advice. So reducing environmental impact while maintaining or increasing productivity can be a significant challenge. So,
Mm.
for instance, could you offer guidance on how to initiate and maintain an organic farming operation, for example?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I work with a lot of organic farmers in Japan and also in my previous work in the Philippines. And I also worked with farmers who were trying to convert from conventional farming to organic farming. Based on my experience, I recommend going gradually, step by step, to avoid sudden production loss or yield loss. Again, also please look for local NGOs or social enterprises that would provide help to the farmers or provide market support for the farmers who are willing to try organic farming. And again, uh, go gradually, step by step, is important, I think.
Okay. So, so do you think that do they need the support from the government or any other, support organizations? Mm.
Yes, yes, it's very important to have a government support for that because um, usually it costs uh, it it costs a little bit high when you want to convert from conventional to organic farming, and also technical support is very important from the government. So I think if there should be a help from local or national government for the farmers who are willing to try organic farming. It's very important.
I
Yes.
see. Thank you very much. So my next question is from a little bit different angle, so which is about model case for us. So during your presentation, you highlighted the initiative of EU deforestation regulation, which is very advanced. So if there are any model countries that we can benchmark, we would appreciate your recommendation along with the reasons for your selection.
Okay. Yes. I think European nations advanced in terms of deforestation-free supply chains. I also mentioned in my presentation that the EUDR, they don't allow any products that is linked to deforestation in the market. That is a very strict and ambitious law. So I think Europe is advanced in terms of that. And like Norway, I'd like to mention Norway is a country, it committed to zero deforestation in public procurement and almost 10 years ago. So I think it was a first nation to commit zero deforestation in all public procurement. So that's very advanced and something we can look up to.
Okay, thank you very much for your recommendations. Then this is my last question, and after this, I will pick up one question from viewers. Okay, so my final question is about actions at the individual level. So to achieve nature positive and sustainable productivity, you concluded your presentation with your key messages to APO stakeholders. Thank you very much. So then could you also provide advice at the individual level? For instance, what actions can consumers take?
Okay. It's very important. It's very important that the individual make changes. What we can do as a consumer or as an individual, we can check the label when shopping. For example, if you have a favorite product, I don't know, chocolate or favorite sweets products, and when you check the label when you're shopping, and if there is no sustainability, there is no information about sustainability, please ask customer services, or you can ask the company why there is no sustainability undertakings. So, and I think every purchase is vote. So when you choose sustainable products, like you're voting for a better future and from your wallets. So I think it's very important to be a wise consumer.
Okay, thank you very much for your advice. So we need to be a responsible consumer.
Yes.
Yeah. As well as we need a responsible business.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So we have a question from viewers. Then that comes from GLMI at the Paitan Barangay Hall with farmers in Nueva Vizcaya in the Philippines. Okay.
Wow.
The question is about AI. Okay. So let me read. Okay. So AI requires significant amounts of electricity and carbon emissions for building and running data centers. But on the other hand, AI can be an innovative tool for sustainable forest management. Okay. So what are your thoughts on the advantages and the disadvantages of AI in forest management? So could you give us your view on that?
Okay. Thank you very much for your question, and hello to the farmers in Paitan, everyone. Okay, so yes, actually, forestry is a primary industry, but digitizing it is very important, just like agriculture. You know, in agriculture, mechanization, digitization is important. And same is true for forestry. Digitization and mechanization is important. And AI, uh, so role of advantage and disadvantages of AI. I think there should be advantage of AI because I think the population working for forestry, I don't know in the Philippines right now, but in many countries, the populations working under forestry is declining, decreasing. So we need the help of AI. So that would be an advantage. But disadvantage could be, you know, it's like a, a dilemma, but it could displace people from the workforce. If AI could do some jobs that human used to do, that could displace the people who used to work for it. So that could be a disadvantage.
Mm-mm-mm. Okay, thank you very much. So, and also from the perspective of environment, so
Mm,
AI might contribute to the emission, carbon emission, because they have to manage the large
mm,
amount of data. So
okay.
that can be one of the problems of AI.
Mm,
So, what do you think of the balancing the advantage of
mm,
AI for forest management and also
mm.
that disadvantage to
Electricity.
contribute to the yeah.
Okay, maybe one solution could be in the local if it's in the barangay paitan. Maybe for example in that barangay maybe you can generate your own electricity using your local resources or your local resources residue of your local resources, and you can have your own power. You can generate your own power as a renewable energy. That would be a solution.
Mm, mm, mm. So renewable energy, yeah, would
Yeah,
be
locally sourced.
critical
Yeah,
for sustainability.
right,
Okay.
right.
Mm, mm, mm.
But it should be sustainably and locally sourced.
Mm,
Uh,
mm, 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 mm,
mm,
mm. Okay, thank you very much. So now we are near to the conclusion of the session in a few minutes. Then, Makiko, to wrap up of this session, would you like to share a message with your viewers?
sure. Um, okay. Yeah, thank you very much for your time and commitment and engagement. Um, I think I talked a lot of things today, but the one most important takeaway is, you know, we cannot do this alone, or only there is no only one actor that can do this. So we have to work together, and I believe together possible. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much again for your valuable presentations and inspirational message. So today we learned from Makiko that our action is really urgent to achieve nature positive forest value chains and protect our earth. And it also implies sustainable productivity. The APO introduced the concept of green productivity decades ago. It refers to the application of productivity and environmental management policies, tools, techniques, and technologies to reduce the environmental impact of an organization's activity. We will continue to work on it for sustainable productivity. Thank you very much for your time again, Makiko.
Thank
We are
you.
truly, yeah, we are truly honored to have had you with us today. And also thank you also to viewers for your participation, especially from the Philippines. So see you next time in the next productivity talk. And goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.